coming out, so there won't be any speed ties coming out on this turn 1 between them. Instead, going with some very, very good Pokemon here. There's very standard picks coming out from both players' side. Consistent Pokemon that we've seen all throughout the previous series. Coming out from Rayan's side, a Pokemon that you've seen to put together quite a lot. Usually that Venusaur over the now Amoonguss instead. A very consistent team coming out. But also going with the Pokemon like the Grimmsnarl head with the Cinderace. Not the most common of pairings. Usually you want to be going for something like the Light Screen, the Reflect with a bit more bulky Pokemon. But Arash definitely has that with Pokemon like his Tyranitar and the Togekiss as well. So reasonably similar teams. They might function in completely different ways, though, even with the different Pokemon coming out. You've both got the double redirection with the Togekiss and the Amoonguss, and then you've got your heavy hitters as well, with that Cinderace and the Pokemon like the Dragapult as well.
Yeah, so it'll be really interesting. They do have 3 same Pokemon, but being able to see that difference, like you noted, Jamie, is gonna prove might actually be able to give the win to one of these 2 trainers that we're gonna be seeing right now go into battle for the last game of today on stream. We're gonna be seeing Rayan go for that Dragapult and the Togekiss, whilst on Arash's side, he's just gonna go for that reminiscent of previous formats lead in the form of that Incineroar and Amoonguss.
Yeah, Arash definitely a year behind with this lead with the Incineroar Amoonguss. But against this Dragapult and the Togekiss, another very classic lead from VGC 20 coming out for Rayan's side. Definitely threatening something like the Dragon Dance on the Dragapult with the redirection from the Togekiss. Incineroar does have Fake Out Pressure to be able to stop that redirection from the Togekiss. That would allow a Spore to be able to go into the Dragapult very freely, and the Togekiss definitely doesn't want to be put to sleep by a Spore this turn.
It doesn't, and that's why it's switching out to the Incineroar. We're not sure if it does carry that safety goggles item, which might be able to take any powder type moves, for example, like the Spore, and render them immune and null, as the Dragapult's just going to go for the Protect this turn round, whilst we do see the Fake Out coming out from Arash's side into the opposing Incineroar, and the opposing Incineroar is confirmed to be the safety goggles variant, as we did see that Spore was ineffective.
A very good switch in for Rayan here. The safety goggles is always a great item to face against Amoonguss with. It really shuts it down completely. It can't go for a Spore into that Incineroar, and it can't redirect any of the moves here, but the Incineroar would most likely want to be going for a Flare Blitz into the Amoonguss instead. But Dragapult now, it's saved its turn of Dynamax. If it wants to go on the offensive now, it would be able to go for the Dynamax this time. And the double up of any max move from the Dragapult in combination with a fire move coming out from the Incineroar would surely be able to pick up the knockout on that Amoonguss. Thanks to the clear body of the Dragapult, it wasn't able to be intimidated as well, so it would be doing a huge amount of damage with this Dynamax that it looks like it is going for.
It is going for that Dynamax from what it seems, and normally when you see clear body Dragapults, you do assume that they are the physical variant, and they are mainly more offensive. So Rayan wanting to go ahead and take advantage of the plethora of moves this Dragapult could be going for, but no, it just goes for the Max Phantasm into the Amoonguss slot, brings it down to a Focus Sash. This might be a Life Orb, a set on this Dragapult. That is huge amounts of damage onto the little mushroom Pokemon. Being able to drop its defense as well as Incineroar's by 1 stage, as we do see that Life Orb being confirmed, but the Burning Jealousy actually comes out from Arash's Incineroar, hoping for a boost, which he doesn't see and doesn't get any burn, but wanting to double check and make sure that he can try to stop that Dragapult. Goes for the Spore, does put it to sleep, as we see the Incineroar on the Rayan's side go and pick off that Amoonguss, so not allowing it to be used in the remainder of Game 1.
That was actually such a smart play coming out from Arash's side. If he went for the Max Phantasm or the Max Wormwind into the Amoonguss, because it was the Focus Sash variety, and apparently a very, very fast one as well, it would have been able to survive and get that Spore into the Dragapult. But then if the Dragapult went for an Airstream to be able to get the Incineroar faster than the Amoonguss to stop that Spore, the Burning Jealousy would have burned that Dragapult as well. So really pinning that Dynamax Dragapult down, either to be burned and not make use of its Dynamax very effectively, or just not use its Dynamax at all with the Spore. So an absolutely fantastic play coming out for Arash here. And now this Tyranitar is going to be threatening down this Incineroar very heavily, as well as the Dragapult. The Tyranitar may want to ignore the Dragapult on this turn. It is guaranteed to stay asleep for at least one turn, and maybe wants to just go on the offensive into the Incineroar. And if the Incineroar wants to switch out, it would be that Togekiss maybe in the back that wouldn't want to eat a Rock-type move either. So maybe Rayan wants to switch into the other Pokemon that he hasn't revealed yet, because this Tyranitar is now looking incredibly threatening for Arash's side.
Just like you said, it definitely is, as Dragapult goes and takes its first turn of sleep, guaranteed one, and Arash's Incineroar goes for the parting shot on its mirrored nemesis on Rayan's side, whilst it is going to be able to pivot out for another Pokemon of Arash's choice right now, which of course will be, from what we just saw now, the Togekiss. So that will be coming now onto the field, maybe wanting some redirection for the following turns, as well as maybe threatening some damage output onto that Dragapult, as we see the Lash Out doing huge amounts of damage from that Tyranitar into the Dragapult slot, but isn't able to, of course, pick up the KO, as we do see the Incineroar on Rayan's side go for the exact same move, and in the form of that parting shot into that Tyranitar slot. So it's just taking its time, pivoting out right now for the extra drill to be coming in. Let's see if it's Mold Breaker or not. It is indeed Mold Breaker. So this means that regardless of the weather, it will not be getting any boost, but it will be ignoring any potential abilities that normally would stop it from dealing as much damage or have any other side effects.
Excadrill is probably going to be faster than all of the Pokemon on Arash's side of the field, so not having the Sand Rush shouldn't be too detrimental for him going into this match. But you'd have if you're Arash, you'd have liked to see that passing shot actually go into the Tyranitar before you go for that Lash Out, so you could get that extra damage. But it's the Dragapult put very low, probably going to be in range of another Lash Out here. But then the Togekiss and the Tyranitar are both threatened down quite heavily by this Excadrill. Whether that Togekiss is carrying the Babiri Berry to be able to resist that hit, if it's not, the Excadrill is looking in a very good position here.
But we're actually going to see the Togekiss now switch out for the Incineroar to come back in. The Intimidate does come off and does affect the Excadrill at least, bringing it down to -1 attack stages, as the Dragapult, of course, doesn't get affected, as well doesn't get affected by the sand going into its closed eyes as it takes another turn of sleep. And we see the Swords Dance coming out from the Excadrill right now, bringing Rayan's Little Mole back up to +1, as the Lash Out does come out actually into the Excadrill slot, not being able to deal as much damage as I would have liked, but still being able to get some important damage at that.
Very good Sword Stance there, counteracting that Intimidate very well. Now the Excadrill is going to be very threatening. We'll have to see if it's carrying Earthquake or High Horsepower as its move of choice for its Ground-type move. If it is Earthquake, it would be able to threaten that Incineroar and the Tyranitar down very, very heavily. The Togekiss is still waiting in the back that would be able to resist any ground boost that the Excadrill would want to go for. But if the Excadrill just opted for the Iron Head into the Tyranitar as well, that would be super effective damage against the Togekiss once again. Incineroar does have access to Fake Out this turn, so at least the Excadrill may not be moving this turn if the Incineroar wants to go for that Fake Out. Arash still has access to his Dynamax as well, but the Tyranitar did get Parting Shotted and may not want to be going for that Dynamax this turn, maybe preserving that for later on in the game.
And the Dragapult from Rayan's side is going to be switching out for the Incineroar. We're once again witnessing a revolving door of Pokemon right now, as it is going to go ahead and drop the attack of both Arash's Incineroar and the Tyranitar, whilst the Incineroar from Arash's side is going to go for that safe Fake Out onto the Excadrill, not allowing it to move, as the Superpower comes out and is actually not enough to pick up the KO that it's so wanted and needed onto the Excadrill. But wait, what is this? Ladies and gents, confirmed to be a weakness policy Excadrill. This steel ground type mole is on a rampage, looking to be very, very threatening with a +3 attack right now.
If you're Arash, you definitely don't want to be seeing an Earthquake come out from that Excadrill. That's now, with its increased stages of attack thanks to that weakness policy and the Sword Stance as well, should easily be able to pick up the knockout on the Incineroar and the Tyranitar as well. You'd have to Dynamax to stop your Pokemon from being KO'd or switch out into the Togekiss as well. You've also got Fake Out pressure from the Incineroar on Rayan's side of the field as well. So it's looking in actually quite a good position for Rayan. Even though his Excadrill is so low, it is going to be so threatening now. It's still going to be outspeeding all of the Pokemon on Arash's side of the field. And no fake out going to be coming out from the Incineroar, just switching straight back into that Dragapult.
Oh, it's going to be switching out to that Dragapult. I was expecting the Togekiss and maybe that Earthquake play that you mentioned, Jamie, but no, we're going to be seeing the Iron Head into the Incineroar, maybe wanting to pick up a flinch, but not being able to do so as, wow, we see that Clear Body coming into effect, denying the Incineroar the chance to switch out once again to pivot out with its parting shot, as the Tyranitar actually is going to be able to pick up the KO on the Excadrill with the superpower, now bringing it to -2 defense of its own and reduced attack. Kind of a missed opportunity, don't you think, with that Excadrill not being able to get any damage off during that turn?
Definitely a missed opportunity, but still an entirely respectable play. You've still got to be wary of that Togekiss switching in the back, and Incineroar maybe wanting to switch out to preserve its Intimidate and get that redirection and ground immunity on the field. May have been what Rayan was expecting, and definitely could have come out from Arash's side. So even though it was a misprediction, it definitely made sense for him to go for that play. But unfortunately, did not come to fruition there, as the Incineroar did stay in and was able, and then the Tyranitar was able to just take out the Excadrill. But because it's got its attack so reduced now, I believe it was a -5. Thanks to the superpowers and Intimidate, it is going to be switching out into this Togekiss.
It's going to be switching out into the Togekiss, wanting to reset its stat stages, as we see the critical hit fake out coming out from Rayan's Incineroar into its mirrored arch nemesis, as the Dragapult once again still asleep. Surely it should wake up the next turn.
It's taken all 3 turns of sleep that it can take now, so it'll definitely be waking up when it goes on the offensive in this next turn as well. And Arash still has access to his Dynamax as well. Probably going to be his Togekiss coming out. Dragapult not going to be able to do too much for Rayan's side of the field. Would only be able to get off one more attack before it would be KO'd to that Togekiss. And the Incineroar wants to preserve its Fake Out and Intimidate and bring back that Tyranitar, which is now back to neutral attack. It's got rid of all those attack drops.
Yeah, and it is going to be setting up that sand in the form of weather thanks to its Sandstream ability, and we are going to finally see Arash go for that Dynamax on his side. He's been preserving it so he could get in that situation where the Excadrill is not on the field, it is no longer a threat, and he can try to take advantage of that huge flying fairy type Togekiss, as the Dragapult decides to wake up finally. Goes for that Dragon Dart. It does go into the Tyranitar. Both moves will be redirected into it, given that Togekiss is a fairy type, which is immune, of course, to it. It does get a bit of recoil from that Life Orb, as the Max Airstream does finish off the job, gets rid of that Dragapult from the Dynamax. Now Togekiss being able to bring the speed of both the Togekiss and the Tyranitar up by 1 speed stage, and we're going to be seeing the Incineroar go for the parting shot now into the Togekiss, wanting to yet again pivot itself in and out so it can also get that fake out pressure in the following turn. But this Togekiss is looking very threatening right now, Jamie.
Yeah, there's not going to be too much that Rayan can do to stop it. He lost his Excadrill, which was the best way through this Togekiss. The Incineroar will be able to come back in, but won't be able to fake out the Togekiss in its Dynamax form. So this Togekiss definitely could be running through the rest of Rayan's side of the field. The Intimidate is going to be affecting that Tyranitar, and both the Incineroar and the Togekiss on Rayan's side of the field are going to be weak to that Rock Slide. So the Intimidate will help out with the Tyranitar, but this Togekiss is still looking in a fantastic position for Arash. And he could just switch out his Tyranitar once again, Intimidate the Incineroar on the opposing side of the field, reset the Intimidate again on the Tyranitar, and be able to bring it back in and just go for some neutral, big-powered Rock Slides as well, and even just fire off the max moves on the Togekiss as well.
Oh, we're actually going to see Rayan forfeiting right there, not wanting the game to go forward. He recognizes that in that situation, Arash would have had the advantage. Just like you said, Jamie, he'd be able to pivot in and out his Incineroar and his Tyranitar, given the fact that that Tyranitar just will love to be trying to land those Rock Slides onto both the Incineroar and Togekiss, which are very weak to that Rock type.
It came down to a couple of crucial turns in that match. I still think that the Incineroar Burning Jealousy and the Amoonguss Spore was just an absolutely beautiful play coming out from Arash's side of the field. And then the big turn was the Excadrill going for that Iron Head into the Incineroar. I know a lot of people would be quick to say that that was a throw from Rayan's side of the field, but there was entirely reasonable logic behind that Iron Head play. You would want to preserve that Intimidate on the Incineroar, getting the Togekiss in as a ground immunity, because you hadn't revealed anything like the Earthquake or the High Horsepower at that point on the Excadrill. If you're fearing the Earthquake, you would switch into your Togekiss and preserve your Intimidate. So Rayan going for the prediction, which is a sign of a very strong player, being confident enough to go for that play that could have definitely come to fruition because the Togekiss switch-in was entirely possible. But this time, Arash getting the better end of that, being able to read into that Iron Head play, into the Incineroar, and get off the Superpower. A very crucial turn of the game, because that Excadrill was put in such a great position, even though it was in range of any attack that Arash would want to go for. It was at +3 stages of an increased attack. It outsped every Pokemon on Arash's side of the field and would have been able to KO any Pokemon with the respective super effective hit into those Pokemon. But just one misprediction. It wasn't a misplay, it was a misprediction going into that Incineroar. Was a very crucial turn.
Oh, 100%, because it's so hard, because if you're Rayan, you know the caliber of your opponent. You know, of course, that he is a previous world champion, so you know that he will anticipate what you will anticipate. So it's trying to go off of that stage 1 prediction, as I would call it. And Arash, from what it seems, like you said, making that stage 2 prediction of predicting the stage 1 and just sticking to playing safe and saying, listen, I'm just going to keep it in. If it goes for Earthquake, it goes for Earthquake. If that Togekiss switches in, I will know it will be probably going for that Earthquake, but we didn't see it. Do you think that might also mean that the Excadrill might not even have Earthquake?
Possibly. If it did have Earthquake, you would have almost certainly seen it that turn. He would have had a very free switch into Togekiss and Earthquake. Even if the Togekiss on Arash's side of the field would have switched in, you're still getting an Earthquake onto one of the Pokemon. That may have been a Tyranitar going for a Protect, but then you can just follow up with a Iron Head into the Togekiss and then just redirect the Superpower that can come out into the Excadrill, and the Tyranitar almost certainly wouldn't be able to KO the Excadrill with a Rock Slide either. Probably indicative of High Horsepower instead of Earthquake for the Excadrill coming out here. The Excadrill was very strong against the 4 Pokemon that Arash fought, so if he protects it just slightly better, the Excadrill could be key for Rayan going into this game too.
Oh, yeah. And I think it might be that High Horsepower because it does have that Mold Breaker, so maybe it doesn't want to hit its own Rotom Wash, go through that Levitate on Rayan's side, on a team-building perspective. But we're going to be seeing the leads of Game 2. Rayan going for the Dragapult and Incineroar, whilst we're going to be seeing Arash go for the Grimmsnarl and that Togekiss, as the Incineroar's Intimidate might actually potentially be affecting this Grimmsnarl's attack.
I haven't seen this lead come out on Arash's side since probably like February or March. Grimmsnarl and Togekiss was quite a common lead back then in about Series 2 or 3. But that was more of a fake tears, go on the offensive with critical hit Togekiss. This Grimmsnarl may not be going for that option because there's so many Pokemon on Arash's side are physical. Probably won't be going for those fake tears instead. But the Togekiss is in still a pretty good position against this Dragapult, and the Grimmsnarl as well against the Dragapult and Incineroar will be able to shrug off most of the attacks that would come out this turn. Incineroar would be able to fake out the Grimmsnarl, putting a stop to any supported moves that could come out from the Grimmsnarl this time, but it looks like Rayan's actually brought Rotom to this match.
Yeah, Rotom Wash is going to be coming in, shiny one at that, for that Dragapult on the Rayan side, as we're going to be seeing the Reflect come out from that Grimmsnarl Prankster ability, showing its use there, going and having +1 a priority as the Dazzling Gleam comes out from the Togekiss, picks up a cheeky little critical hit on the Rotom Wash, followed up by the Parting Shot on that Incineroar, actually targeting the Togekiss, wanting to try to reduce its damage output, whilst, of course, acting as a pivot for this Excadrill, which is now going to be coming onto the field for the first time during Game 2, showing off its Mold Breaker ability.
Now, this is the position Excadrill wants to be in, facing down 2 Fairy types here. So going to be a very good position for the Excadrill. And then the Rotom will be able to threaten the Togekiss with super effective damage as well. And Rayan's also set up on both Pokemon on his side of the field. We've already seen the Swords Dance on the Excadrill. Rotom's very commonly carry that nasty plots as well, so We could be seeing some setup coming out from Rayan's Pokemon, whether that's going to be both of the Pokemon, because he's not throwing too much damage on the Excadrill or the Rotom with the Togekiss. And it looks like we are going to be seeing at least this Swords Dance come out from the Excadrill.
Yeah, Swords Dance is going to be coming out from the Excadrill on Orion's side, wanting to be able to boost its attack by 2 stages as the Thunderbolt comes out from the Rotom Wash into the Togekiss slot, picks up that cheeky little low chance, a paralysis onto it. Foul play comes out from the Grimmsnarl and knocks that Excadrill out as the Togekiss gets fully paralyzed. But for Arash there, he's not minding that too much, given the fact that he had a free, as much of a free move that he could have in picking up the KO onto that Excadrill.
We've seen a lot of Spirit Break Grimmsnarls come out on these screens Grimmsnarls that we've seen in this Series 5. Foul Play definitely fell by the wayside in favor of Spirit Break a lot, but Foul Play being very, very crucial here. Not letting that Excadrill get that setup for free. If the Excadrill would have just gone for something like an Iron Head or even a Max Steel Spike in that turn, it would have boosted up its defenses. The Foul Play would have done almost no damage, but because it went for that Swords Dance and boosting up its attack, it's increased the damage output of that Foul Play enough to be able to pick up the knockout. Just a very, very, very good turn for Arash there. Being able to take out probably the biggest threat on Bayan's side of the field effectively for free.
Definitely, as we're going to be seeing that Incineroar going for the fake out into the Grimmsnarl slot, being able to not allow it to move this turn as the nasty plot is revealed from that Rotom Wash. And unfortunately for Arash, we're going to see a second turn where the Togekiss is unable to move thanks to that full paralysis.
That could be a very crucial full paralysis as well. That could have been extra chip with the Dazzling Gleam coming out from Togekiss on the Rotom. And now that the Rotom didn't take that damage, it's actually a very viable Dynamax candidate for Rayan, even though it's taken a reasonable amount of damage already. Thanks to that nasty plot, it will be able to do a very, very good amount of damage to Arash's side of the field now. But that damage will be reduced by this light screen from the Grimmsnarl.
Arash recognizing that, wanting to bulk his Pokemon as much as he can in anticipation of this, but there is no sort of bulk that could be brought in front of a critical hit +2 Rotom Wash Thunderbolt into that Togekiss slot, being able to pick up the KO as the Incineroar on Rayan's side is going to be going for that parting shot, getting that pivoting action going once again, bringing that Grimmsnarl to -1 attack, but that's not as crucial, of course, given the fact that it is rocking that Foul Play. As we're going to be seeing Rayan go for the Dragapult, showing its face once again. It came during the leads in Game 2. It opted to switch out, and now it's back.
Yeah, so probably going to be the Pokemon that Rayan wants to go for the Dynamax with, saving that for the Dragapult waiting in the back. That is at full HP and can make the most use of the Dynamax as well. And Incineroar is going to be able to come in here, threaten Fake Out onto the Rotom as well, and threaten some good damage onto the Dragapult. But the Rotom isn't really threatened by too much. Incineroar can stop it from moving with a Fake Out, but because the Grimmsnarl has Foul Play as its defensive move, not that Spirit Break, it's really not going to be able to threaten down this Rotom, especially after another Intimidate from this Incineroar, reducing its attack even further. Foul Play won't be doing too much damage at all, so the Grimmsnarl would need to focus down on the Dragapult to be able to do some good damage with the Foul Play. But then the Rotom would be free to attack the Incineroar with a Thunderbolt or even a Hydro Pump as well. So the Rotom is still looking in quite a good position here. The Dragapult is probably the Pokemon that Rayan wants to go for the Dynamax with, but the Rotom is really a thing that isn't threatened too much at this stage.
Yeah, I think either Pokemon could honestly go for Dynamax here, because maybe Rayan doesn't want to afford a Hydro Pump miss as well. So it'll be really interesting to see his mindset going into this. It is going to be the Dragapult. It will be going ahead and Dynamaxing, really sporting huge amounts of damage right now, as well as side effects of maybe potentially increasing speeds or dropping attacks. As we are going to be seeing the Max Airstream come out, does go into the Incineroar slot. It will be gaining that speed, that +1 speed stat stage, of course, onto itself, as well as the Rotom Wash, looking to be huge threats right now for Arash, as the Hydro Pump is going to miss in the Incineroar. Unfortunately for Rayan, very unfortunate, and we are going to be seeing the parting shot allowed to be actually used from Arash's side. It does go into that Rotom Wash, bring it down to into +1 of its special attack. It was at +2 thanks to that nasty plot boost before, and the Cinderace comes in now for the Incineroar that switched out, as well as we see a Foul Play coming out from the Grimmsnarl into that Rotom Wash, bringing it down to a half of its HP, whilst we actually see the reveal of that Citrus Berry recovering a bit of HP back.
You don't often see Heal Pulse on Grimmsnarl, but able to heal this Rotom a little bit with the Foul Play. Very interesting choice of going for the Foul Play into the Rotom instead of the Dragapult, because you saw how little damage that did. It actually did negative damage to that Rotom, and would have done a very, very good amount of damage to the Dragapult. Almost certainly going to be knocking it out in 2 shots, but a little bit of a missed opportunity here for Arash.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to be seeing the Incineroar switch in now, just wanting to get that pivoting action going once again, not wanting to allow the Cinderace to get hit by anything else. We're going to see the Grimmsnarl go for the Thunder Wave and land onto that Dragapult. Hydro Pump misses once again from the Rotom into that Fire-type slot. It would have been able to pick up a KO, but we do see the Max Wormwind able to do so. So, interestingly enough, we saw the Hydro Pump move there. If it did land, the Max Wormwind would have been able to move, of course, into the Grimmsnarl, given the fact that that paralysis just halved the Dragapult's speed and the order of those attacks from Rayan's side.
So not too important of a Hydro Pump miss there, as the Incineroar was taken out that turn regardless. But now the Dragapult is paralyzed, but it is also at +1 speed. Cinderace is probably still going to be able to outspeed that Dragapult. Arash still has access to his Dynamax. It looks like he's been holding on to it for this Cinderace in the endgame, but the Rotom is still at +1 speed as well. It could be trained to outspeed that Cinderace and can't be paralyzed by that Thunder Wave. So it's going to be very crucial on how the Rotom is being trained here, because the Cinderace is going to be going for that Dynamax, or maybe the Gigantamax as well. But this Rotom hasn't been very accurate with its Hydro Pumps, but if it is able to land one, it is still at 1 stage of increased special attack. That might be enough to KO even this Gigantamax Cinderace. So it will definitely come down to how this Rotom is being trained.
Yeah, we're going to see Arash go finally for his Dynamax, his Gigantamax Cinderace, which doesn't avoid that Hydro Pump thanks to its huge size right there that it did get in that form, as it actually changes its typing to the Dark type, goes for that Max Darkness into the Rotom, actually picking up the KO as well. So a good move from Arash there, wanting to get rid of it finally. And will this Dragapult move? It does move, and it goes for the Max Wormwind. This might be enough to pick up the KO. Oh, and it just misses. Ladies and gents, 4 HP, Cinderace for the win from what it seems. The attack does get dropped down to -1 as we see the Foul Play coming out from that Grimmsnarl, dealing a lot of damage, but not enough to pick up the KO. What an interesting turn of events from the state of play of this game too, as we do see Rayan bringing in that Incineroar, allowing that Cinderace to now go down to -2 in its attack.
We might see something that you really don't see too often here. Cinderace don't often carry Protect, and Incineroar does carry Fake Out, and it may not be used for the flinch here. It may just be used for that extra little bit of damage, as the Cinderace is so low here. The Dragapult is such low HP and is paralyzed as well. Doesn't really threaten the Grimmsnarl with too much, and you've seen why I'd like to see that Foul Play into the Dragapult instead of that Rotom. It just did so much damage to even the Dynamax Dragapult, and negligible damage to the Rotom. So the Dragapult could have been KO'd by this turn if that Foul Play had gone into the Dragapult this turn. But Fake Out is going to be the move of choice to pick up that KO on that Cinderace.
And a critical hit note to boot as well, picking up the KO onto that G-Max Cinderace. Was only at 4 HP, so of course critical hit didn't matter, but that paralysis could have mattered, depending on what other moves this Dragapult has, and it will be going down to that Foul Play from the Grimmsnarl, allowing a very inconvenient 1 versus 1 between this Grimmsnarl and the Incineroar.
This is definitely going to be an interesting one. The Reflect did just wear out that turn, so the Grimmsnarl does have to take it another turn to set up that Reflect, but you would assume that it would be going for that, as it does indeed set up that Reflect, because you need to be able to take as little damage as possible coming out from this Incineroar, which is going to be the Flare Blitz, which is going to hit the Grimmsnarl neutrally. Still doing a very good amount of damage as well, but the Incineroar is going to be taking recoil from that Flare Blitz, but that was a lot of damage coming out from the Incineroar, and you have to respond with a not very effective hit in that Foul Play, so it does look like it is a bit in the Incineroar's favor.
Yeah, we're going to be seeing it just go for that Flare Blitz once again now, showing that it is outspeeding the Grimmsnarl, nearly picking up the KO there, and not being able to do so as the foul play, I don't think will be enough to do the job for Arash and give him this set and game. But Rayan, of course, could be having that Super Berry on Incineroars, which they do like to carry, as we are going to be seeing the Flare Blitz once again coming out in this slobber knocker of an end game of Game 2, being able to pick up the KO against Arash and push this set up to a third game. So Rayan being able to pull back very well there and better position himself and allow the forcing of a Game 3.
He even lost that extra drill for free when he went for that sword stance, with the foul play being able to take out that extra drill, but still being able to pull it back very well. The Rotom wasn't really threatened too much while it set up that nasty plot, and it did end up having to be that Cinderace going for the Max Darkness to be able to take it out, but it was pretty much KO'd at that point with the response of Hydro Pump and the Wormwinds putting it in range of the Fake Out, and that was just enough. The Grimmsnarl not having enough offensive pressure against the Incineroar in the end game. And yeah, it was a very, very strong comeback from Rayan. The Excadrill did look like it was probably going to be the most crucial member for him, but it looked like he didn't even need it at all. The Rotom was actually very effective.
I mean, it was very effective when it was actually landing the Hydro Pumps, not so much when it was missing them, as we did see it missed twice on a Fire-type slot that it had targeted. So do you think in that situation that maybe the Rotom could have been a bit better of a Dynamax? I know that the Dragapult did, of course, get paralyzed, so that did really neutralize it a bit, but the Rotom wouldn't have been able to be stopped, would it?
I did get an Airstream boost from the Dragapult to be able to put it faster than the Cinderace.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, if the Rotom was the Dynamax Pokemon... out from the Cinderace. So, even though it had taken a reasonable amount, only managing to hit 1 out of 3 Hydro Pumps so far in this game. So yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting seeing how the players adapt, because the extra looked like it was crucial, but then didn't actually become too necessary. So maybe Rayan wants to focus a bit more on the Rotom side, because getting up that nasty plot for the Rotom was definitely very good for it, being able to threaten a lot of damage. Even though it wasn't able to land that damage, when it was, it did a huge amount of damage to that Cinderace.
Yeah, I think it's just like you said, being able to allow, like, you've got the main piece of Excadrill, right? It looks like it's in a really good spot, but being able to have another Pokemon which you normally wouldn't think is as offensive, like a Rotom Wash, and allowing it to set itself up with a nasty plot, bringing it up to +2, allows it to become a damage powerhouse. So being able to have that at your viability is huge, because you're able to take advantage and just have multiple threats that your opponent has to try to hose out as if it was multiple scattered fires on the field. But we're going to be seeing Rayan go for the Incineroar and Dragapult this time, as well as Arash bringing his own Incineroar and Togekiss as well. So we see the interaction between the Incineroars there. It looks like Arash has moved first. I'm not sure if that's an indication of it's of a speed tie or not, or if it is just trained to be faster. But regardless, it's the only Intimidate that's going to matter is on both of these cats, letting that out.
And they could just go straight for the passing shots as well, getting rid of those Intimidates. The Dragapult is pretty threatened down here with the Togekiss and the Incineroar. It would still be able to do good damage with the Max Phantasm if the Togekiss doesn't go for the Dynamax. Or the Max Wormwind into the Incineroar would be a good amount of damage as well, but it's still very threatened by both Pokemon on Arash's side of the field. May want to switch out that Dragapult. Rotom, if it is waiting in the back, would still pair pretty well against the Togekiss and the Incineroar, but it would have to take a Dazzling Gleam as it came in, which may not be the best for Rayan. It could be a very crucial Pokemon, and saving it's in the back, not taking any extra damage unnecessarily might be useful, but actually the Incineroar is not going to be going for a passing shot here. It's just going to be switching straight out into that Excadrill.
Yeah, it's going to switch out for that raw switching of the Excadrill, which does come back onto the field. But we're actually going to see Rayan go for that Dynamax. It is looking to be that Dragapult. So wanting to take advantage of either speeds or perhaps defense drops. But we have to note that this Incineroar, we have seen it go for Burning Jealousy on Arash's side. So it might even go for that. Rayan has to be very careful with what move he decides to go for, as we're going to see see Arash be no stranger to Dynamax himself and go for it turn 1 of game 3 as well, which is going to be that Togekiss maybe looking to try to get rid of that Dragapult as quickly and rapidly as it can, of course. It is looking at a threat in the form of that Excadrill, but it's got a good support mon in the form of that Incineroar, but we're going to see the max airstream come out from the Dragapult, hoping to deal even more damage to this Togekiss, which it wasn't able to do so. Does boost the speeds of the Excadrill and itself by 1 of its stages as the Life Orb Redraw comes out. The max airstream in return actually comes out from the Togekiss into the what was before Incineroar slot, which is now the Excadrill, still dealing huge amounts of damage. Thanks to that critical hit as well onto a Pokemon that, of course, it's not as bulky, but it does resist it. It does bring the speed tearing to neutral, and Burning Jealousy is going to pick up a double burn, which is going to KO that Excadrill, but is also going to burn that Dragapult. On Rayan's side, we see that weakness policy being able to be proc, but guess what? It's not going to be able to use it, since that burn damage will be enough to bring it down and pick up the first KO of a very explosive but very well maneuvered and predicted turn from Arash's side.
Excadrill getting double burn there with the weakness policy increasing its stats as well. Yeah, it's a very good play again from Arash. Really good use of Burning Jealousy. Going for the airstream means that the Dragapult needs to go for its own airstream to be able to match the speeds. And if it goes for that, then it just gets burned by the Burning Jealousy. Yeah. So a really good pin from Arash here. Because now the Dragapult is still going to be moving first, but its damage reduction is going to be... the damage is going to be reduced by so much now. Really not going to be threatening too much damage. And now the Togekiss can really run rampant on Rayan's side of the field. The Excadrill was taken care of immediately by that Airstream and the Burning Jealousy, just being enough to put it in burn range. And once again, the Excadrill is not going to be doing anything in this match, even though it looks like it would be very good against Arash's team. It's just been taken out immediately without being able to do a single bit of damage.
Exactly, as we're going to see that Dragapult, he could see the reduction in that damage output from that max airstream onto the Incineroar slot, not dealing anywhere near the damage it would have originally liked, but it does bring his own Incineroar to neutral against Arash's Incineroar, as the max Starfall is going to be coming out, and this is spelling trouble for Rayan, but this is smelling like potential victory for Arash, being able to pick up that KO on the Dragapult with that max Starfall. Dynamax Togekiss doing the deed very well, showing off that Burning Jealousy being such a crucial new move that's been added ever since the new DLC did come out, the first DLC should I say, as we see the parting shot from Arash's Incineroar go into the opposing Incineroar, pivoting itself out for a Pokemon now of Arash's choice, which looks like it is going to be that Amoonguss. And oh my lord, what a huge advantageous position Arash is seeming to be in. As, of course, sorry, apologies, the Incineroar on Rayan still has to move, goes for the Lash Out, but unfortunately, it targets the Togekiss and doesn't deal as much damage at all.
Almost might as well not have moved there. Really not too much damage from the Lash Out. With that parting shot on the Incineroar as well, which is here to stay now that Rayan's down to his last two Pokemon. The Rotom is a very good Pokemon to be going up against that Togekiss. But now the Togekiss is protected by that Amoonguss. So Rage Powder would stop any Hydro Pump or Thunderbolt from being able to hit that Togekiss, and Amoonguss will resist both of those moves. And Arash still has that Incineroar waiting in the back as well. If he just wants to intimidate that Incineroar even further, then he can do that whenever he wants. The Mystic Terrain being set up by the Starfall is a little bit unfortunate for Arash because he can't go for any spores this turn into the Incineroar, but he would still be able to spore that Rotom. Maybe because this Amoonguss is such a fast one, it might even be able to outspeed this Rotom with that Airstream boost from the Togekiss.
Yeah, as we did see, I think you might be right. It could. It all depends on how it's trained. And you are right, Jamie. It does. It outspeeds this Rotom, does put it to sleep. So Rotom now does have, of course, a guaranteed turn that we do just see right now on the screens. It has to go through. It has a chance of waking up the following turns. But we see the Flare Blitz coming out from Rayan's Incineroar into the Amoonguss, not being able to quite do the job that it set out to originally do. And we see the Togekiss now losing its Dynamax form, and Arash looking to be in such a good spot.
That fantastic spot. The Rotom being asleep here And then Amogus, it seems like it outspeeds the Rotom as well. The Amogus will actually still be able to go on the offensive now. It will be able to move first before the Rotom and the Incineroar. If it's carrying that Giga Drain or Energy Ball, it would be able to do good damage to the Rotom. But Togekiss is able to fire off his Dazzling Gleam and actually be able to pick up the knockout on the Incineroar with a critical hit, and one on the Rotom just for good measure.
Double crits all around from what it seems this Togekiss is being able to pass out, as the Giga Drain is actually going to be able to be more than enough to pick up their straight raw KO onto that Rotom Wash on Rayan's side, awarding Arash with the game win and set, ladies and gents, allowing Italy to, at least on these stream matches, go 3-1 versus France. What an overwhelmingly strong advantage and position Arash found himself in during that last game, Jamie.
Yeah, I just really want to credit his use of Burning Jealousy there in both the Game 1 and the Game 2. I've already said how much I appreciated that Burning Jealousy Spore in that Game 1. Being able to pin that Dragapult with either a burn or a sleep, and then in that game 3, it meant that if the Dragapult wanted to still outspeed the Togekiss as well, it had to go for the Airstream, because if it doesn't match that Airstream, Togekiss goes for the Airstream and then can just threaten with the Starfall, as we saw was enough to pick up the KO on the Dragapult. The Dragapult was forced to go for that Airstream if it did go on the offensive that turn, but that meant it had to take the burn from Burning Jealousy. So really, really good use of that brand new move for Arash here.
Oh, 100%. I think Arash being able to recognize that he can actually pin his opponent in such a manner was really like, it's what you would expect from a world-class caliber player such as himself, because being able to force, it's very rare. You don't usually see it. But of course, because there's so many differences between the team compositions of both players, both trainers,